Hello, all. Not sure how well this is going to work, but I thought I might try and do some more sort of reaction stuff using a proper mic, but using my phone camera and so on. Busy working away on Satana Station for Machinations of the Space Princess. Uh, I had a conversation with a friend over the weekend about a concept called decoupling. That is, some people are strong decouplers, some people are weak decouplers, but it's about whether you can decouple an idea from its context or the things around it, right? Or whether you hold things to be all part of the same thing necessarily. How to explain this? Um, Motorways, right? They're a good way to get lots of traffic from one place to another, right? For all the other problems that, that may be incurred by that. But the idea of the motorway, the autobahn, really comes from Nazi Germany. So I think most of us can decouple the idea of a highway or a motorway or an interstate, whatever it might be called in your country. I think we can decouple that idea from the Nazis. But other ideas are much harder to decouple from the Nazis. I wish there was a better example than the Nazis, but there you go. Um, so something like eugenics, for example, which came up recently, most people can't decouple that from the race politics and the nastiness and the horrors that went on in the 20th century. But some people can. Some people can't decouple those consequences from the intellectual question, as happened with Dawkins. You know, does it work? I think Dawkins, like me, is a very, very strong decoupler. That is, that he can take an idea out of its context and examine it and perceive it on its own merits and in hypothetical forms and in questions. But that rubs a lot of people the wrong way because they tend to think of everything as much of a muchness. It's not that one way of thinking is necessarily better than the other because the world is made up of systems, but the ability to examine parts independent of systems also has utility. So both ways of thinking about things can be good. It's not that one's necessarily better than the other, but people who can't decouple an idea often end up conflicting with people who can and do decouple an idea. So we see this in the extremes of both left and right, in that they can't decouple, say, socialized medicine, right, from communism and all of that, or they can't decouple criminal immigration from regular immigration, or they can't decouple the immigration arguments from racism, for example. So that's where a lot of misunderstanding lies. I haven't been introduced to this idea, but I kind of cotton to it. I don't even know if I'm expressing it correctly here, but as I understand it and as I've expressed it here, I think it's a really interesting and useful idea, and you might want to think about it and check it out. Zang.